edition of the Daily Market Commentary. I'm your host, Chuck Fulkerson. Everybody had a great trading day yesterday. We are going to do what we do each and every day, identify potential breakout trades and turning points, utilizing the same 10 to 12 futures markets. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, click the subscribe button down below. It helps the magical YouTube algorithms. Don't worry if you subscribe, they don't send you a bunch of emails every time I post a video, so it's not like it'll cloud your inbox. So please click the subscribe button. If you want to get the alerts when we post the videos, there's a little alert bell you've got to click, and that's how you'll get the alert when the videos are posted. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Starting with the S&P. For those of you new to the channel, by the way, these lines on the charts, we don't change them. We don't change them unless we're doing it in the video, because I think it's important for you to see how we manage trades and how we're held accountable. So we had a strong day yesterday on the heels of the EU announcement, and then we sold off. Now we sold off with a gap, and it's a pretty nice sized gap that happened mostly due to the earnings that came out from Facebook. For those of you unaware, Facebook stunk it up hardcore on earnings, but I'm kind of okay with that, I got to tell you. And the reason that I'm kind of okay with that is that though they stunk it up hardcore on earnings, it might give us a chance to get back in. And so there's really two areas here to look at for getting back in. This one and this one, both of which are very valid entry potentials for the S&P. However, I'm not sure what our arrival will be to either one of those. So I'm going to leave these off the chart for the moment until I look at the Nasdaq level as well, because the S&P level is not the only one. I want to look at the Nasdaq level as well. Now, when I look at the Nasdaq level, I'm not getting the level that we would have reversed at in the S&P would be the equivalent of right here in the Nasdaq. See, if you notice, we've already blown through that Nasdaq level. So what does that tell me about the S&P? Well, remember, the S&P is relatively weaker in comparison to the Nasdaq over the past few weeks, few months. And so since the Nasdaq has already blown through that level, what it does is it stops me from being willing to take the level on the S&P. Now, there's a chance today that we have a gap and go situation where we have a gap down and on the open, we could continue to fall. And if we do, no big deal. I think that there's still a chance to get long again in here on a reversal trade. That is a very distinct possibility. This would be the area that we talked about in the S&P. This is where it would show up inside the Nasdaq. So both of those areas are potential reversals. I want to see, what I don't like is the fact that we're basing just above this area, and that's why I'm leaving it off. And that's why I wanted to show, because I got to look at both markets, right? I got to look at how both markets are looking, and right now I'm still not willing to short the Nasdaq. It's tempting, by the way, to short the Nasdaq on the open, but my rules tell me I'm not going to short this close to an all-time high with really no imbalance between buyers and sellers that I can lean on above me. So I'm going to leave the Nasdaq and the S&P be today. I'm going to leave both of them in play. Now, there is the possibility, like what happens a lot of times with these stocks, is that if there's a big gap down, that it becomes a buying opportunity and it rallies up throughout the day, right? So there is the possibility of that in a stock like Facebook, that it does wind up rallying up throughout the day. So let's move over to crude oil. So in moving over to crude oil, we had a level up above us here yesterday in crude, and we've bounced off that level and kind of started to come down. Now, I will say, if you notice, we got nicked by a tick. Price came really close to our area, and we were unable to get filled. I call that nicked by a tick. It's just barely missed our entry point. came down from there. Now, when we get nicked by a tick like this, it changes my entry style primarily to more of a confirmation style entry. So I will tell you, I did not have this set up for an entry in the overnight hours. Some of you may have. Some of you may have caught this, and I think that the level has worked out pretty well. So if you're able to catch that one, great. Leave me a comment down below. I actually got a question from Ingrid on Twitter about what I'm going to do with it, and so I actually switched the idea over to a confirmation style entry, although still a very valid trade the other way around. And that's why, and that's one of the reasons why I don't post results of the daily market commentary, because all of you have to trade your own rules, right? You got to trade your own plans, and there's oftentimes that things are going to slightly change from when I posted, and I don't really have a designated system of documenting every single decision, because I think that's just becomes overwhelming and unnecessary. But I think it's good to at least see that how these occur. But many of you probably already took the short. And if it's working your way, great. Take your stop, move it down, lock in some profits, move it to break even. Gold has found a bit of support. We are kind of getting a little bit of support in the gold markets. I'll be interested to see if we do break above this 1235 area, which we've hit a couple of times. Then I think that there's room to roam up to the 1245 area up here. The other side is that I think that we could be, we're stalling right here off this little bit of sideways price action at the moment. But if that breaks, we could make it all the way down to 1220. So I think that gold is kind of in a range now for a couple of days. We'll see what it does from this point. Bonds and our currency markets. So in our bonds, the level that we still have in play up here has not come to fruition. Is it still well below that area? In the Aussie, so those of you that trade the Aussie, we had our gap fill. Price came into the gap, and now it's starting to move the direction we want. We've already got a nice little 3-to-1 reward to risk. So leave me a comment down below if you're able to join in on the Aussie trade. Take your stop, move it down, lock in some profits. In the euro, we are still rallying from this initial level that happened a couple of days ago. This one is still continuing its move slightly higher. And then in the Canadian, we got our Canadian dollar breakout. Price broke above our line, gave us a little bit of chop initially, and then boom, popped way up after later in the day. And so the Canadian dollar, as a friend of mine says, oh, Canada, oh, Canada. That one is moving pretty well. So all in all, pretty good opportunities in each of those. Let's look at Great British Pound. Did not quite meet entry yet. We do have a little area up here that I'm interested to see what happens when we get to this region. We're getting a little bit of slowing momentum on this rally up. So this region up here could be a potential reversal area. I'm not going to draw the lines yet because I don't think we're going to get there today. And I want to see what the arrival looks like. Nat gas, I had posted a potential breakout opportunity. So we did break out above it, and we've not really done a whole lot since. So kind of keep that area in mind. In the Japanese yen, we hit our Japanese yen entry, and it's continued its run higher ever since. So those of you that rode the wave with the Japanese yen, you're doing great. And then copper, I love it when a plan comes together. We got the breakout above this area here, which then caused price to rally, and then it hit its profit target, and now the short has been rolling. So it's now coming down from the short area in copper. So all in all, though the equity positions haven't made as many entries, and that happens a lot of times around these all-time highs, the currency and commodity positions have. And that's the point. That's why you have diversification, because when one market's not meeting entry, something else might be. So if you have any questions, please shoot me an email, chuck@iiefinancial.com. If you know anybody who's not into the trading side, but is more focused on the investment side, but doesn't know, they want to use an investment advisor, IIE Financial, that's what we do. We work with people that aren't necessarily traders, but really, want somebody to manage their their money with a protection in mind. So I'd love for you to send me your friends and family and anybody that looks at this trading thing and says, wow, I could never do that, but they want somebody to manage it a bit more actively. Feel free to pass along my information. So thanks so much, everybody. I hope you're having an amazing day, and